Section 1. Flashpoint at sea. The barrier and the blade. South China Sea on edge. Manila cuts Chinese barrier. Beijing warns of consequences. On the turquoise waters of the South China Sea, a Philippine Coast Guard vessel faces off against massive Chinese ships. Between them, a 300-meter floating barrier blocks Scarborough Shoal, a line drawn by a superpower, telling Filipino fishermen to stay out. The tension is electric. A Philippine diver, knife in hand, slips into the water. His mission clear. Cut the barrier. Every move is watched by Chinese sailors, radios crackling with orders from Beijing. One wrong move could spark an international crisis. The world watches as the diver saws through the rope, a bold act of defiance. Each cut is a message. The Philippines will not be pushed out of its own waters. The severed rope drifts apart, reopening the entrance to the shoal, if only for a moment. The Chinese ships remain, unmoving, a silent threat. The act is broadcast worldwide, a moment of televised courage, but this is just the beginning. As the diver is pulled aboard, the larger conflict looms. The barrier is gone, but the standoff continues. The world holds its breath, waiting for China's next move. The future of the South China Sea hangs in the balance. The stakes have never been higher. The decision to cut the barrier was a calculated risk. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. authorized Operation Cutlass, a swift, highly visible mission. The goal: remove the illegal obstruction and send a message to the world. Manila would no longer stand by as its rights were trampled. The operation was a direct challenge to China's creeping control over the shoal, well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Under the guise of a routine patrol, the Philippine Coast Guard approached the shoal. A specialized team executed the plan with precision, using surprise to their advantage. Cameras rolled as the divers severed the rope, capturing evidence for the world to see. Beijing's reaction was swift, condemning the act as provocation and releasing its own footage. Competing narratives emerged, each side shaping the story for global audiences. In Manila, the move was celebrated as a victory. Filipino fishermen, long denied access, rejoiced. For them, this was about survival, not just geopolitics. The operation became a symbol of national pride. President Marcos Jr. vowed to defend Philippine territory and fishermen. Cutting the rope shifted the dynamic, proving even a smaller nation could push back. But everyone knew this was just one round in a much longer fight. The world was watching. The stakes had never been clearer. To understand the conflict, you have to understand Scarborough Shoal. It's not an island, but a triangular chain of reefs and rocks, 124 nautical miles from Luzon. For Filipinos, it's Panatag Shoal, a vital fishing ground and part of their identity. Strategically, its location is critical, sitting beside major shipping lanes. Control of the shoal means control over trade and military movement in the South China Sea. For China, it's a key node in its regional ambitions. If militarized, it would complete a strategic triangle, threatening Philippine security and freedom of navigation. The shoal is rich in fish, oil, and gas, resources both nations covet. For the Philippines, access means economic security. For China, it's a strategic imperative. The fight is about more than rocks and reefs. It's about history, pride, and power. Cutting the barrier was cutting through layers of history and competing interests. For Filipinos, Scarborough Shoal is home. The drama at sea is matched by revelations from space. Satellite imagery in the weeks before the incident showed China's strategy in action. High-resolution photos revealed a near-constant presence of Chinese Coast Guard and Maritime militia, forming a blockade at the lagoon's mouth. These weren't routine patrols. They were a coordinated effort to seal off the shoal. The images became crucial evidence for Manila, countering China's narrative. Satellite data showed Filipino fishing boats forced to linger outside, unable to enter. The economic hardship for these communities was real and severe. Analysts also noted an increased presence of China's maritime militia, civilian vessels controlled by the military, used to swarm and harass. The satellite view confirmed a relentless campaign to squeeze the Philippines out. The blockade was not just visible on the water, but undeniable from space. The evidence was clear. China was tightening its grip. The world could see it. The stakes were rising. The Philippines isn't just relying on courage, it's relying on international law. The 2016 Hague Tribunal ruling was a sweeping legal victory for Manila, invalidating China's 9-line claim. The court declared Scarborough Shoal a traditional fishing ground and said China had unlawfully interfered with Filipino fishermen. the ruling is legally binding, but China rejected it outright. For Manila, the ruling is a powerful diplomatic tool and a foundation for its actions. The barrier is illegal under international law, blocking access to a fishing ground the court said Filipinos have a right to. Scarborough Shoal lies well within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, as defined by UNCLOS. China's blockade violates these sovereign rights. Cutting the barrier was an act of law enforcement, not provocation. This legal backing gives Manila the moral high ground and international support. The fight is framed as a defense of law against might. China sees things differently. For Beijing, Scarborough Shoal, Huangyandao, is Chinese territory by history and national sovereignty. Ancient maps, records, and documents are cited as proof. The barrier, China says, was to prevent Philippine intrusion and protect the marine environment. The removal was, in their eyes, an illegal provocation. In 2025, China declared the shoal a nature reserve, framing its control as environmental stewardship. This tactic uses conservation language to justify exclusion. Chinese media relentlessly push this narrative, portraying the Philippines as a U.S. pawn. The propaganda aims to convince the world of China's righteousness. It's a powerful alternate reality, at odds with Manila's view and international law. The information war is as fierce as the standoff at sea. The barrier cutting was the climax of a year of rising tensions. 2025 saw increasingly dangerous confrontations at sea. In August, a Philippine supply vessel collided with a Chinese Coast Guard ship at Second Thomas Shoal, a turning point. Water cannons and aggressive maneuvers became routine. China doubled its patrols and installed the floating barrier, escalating from mobile blockades to semi-permanent control. The Nature Reserve Declaration followed, solidifying China's grip. Each move was a calculated step up the ladder of coercion. The Philippines responded with assertive transparency, embedding journalists, releasing footage, and exposing China's tactics. The barrier cutting was Manila's boldest move yet. It signaled a new willingness to take risks. The standoff had entered a dangerous new phase. The world was watching, and the stakes were higher than ever. The next move could change everything. The United States looms large over Scarborough Shoal. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty binds the U.S. and the Philippines. Washington has made clear an armed attack on Philippine vessels in the South China Sea would trigger U.S. commitments. This security guarantee is Manila's ultimate backstop. It deters China from using outright military force, keeping the conflict in the gray zone. In 2025, the U.S. increased its presence, more freedom of navigation operations, joint patrols, and intelligence sharing. This support emboldens the Philippines and frustrates China, which accuses the U.S. of meddling. Allies like Japan, Australia, and the UK have voiced support for Manila and condemned China's actions. European nations have joined in, concerned about freedom of navigation. This growing coalition adds diplomatic weight to the Philippines' position. The standoff is now a test case for the rules-based international order. The risk a miscalculation could draw in two superpowers. The world is watching, hoping for restraint. The stakes are global. The outcome will echo far beyond these waters. What happens now? The future of Scarborough Shoal is uncertain. Most expect the standoff to continue. China redeploying barriers, the Philippines pushing back. The cycle of action and reaction could simmer just below open conflict, but the risk of escalation is real. A miscalculation could trigger the U.S.-Philippines Defense Treaty. Both sides want to avoid war, but national pride and domestic pressures make compromise difficult. Back-channel talks may establish crisis management, but a diplomatic breakthrough is distant. The struggle is a symbol of a larger contest, law versus power, order versus might. The floating barrier was more than rope. It was a challenge to the status quo. Cutting it was a defense of international order. The fate of Scarborough Shoal will send a message to the world. The balance of power in the 21st century is at stake. The world waits for the next move.